Hey guys, so in today's tutorial I will show you how I made this Legion mask. First off, I started by 3D printing the mask. I rotated it about 15 degrees to not waste too much filament on the supports. I mostly print with PLA, in this case I used a blue color from G-Tech. I recommend not to print this mask with white PLA for reasons I'll explain in a bit. So after the print finished, I sanded it down on the places it looked too rough, mostly on the bottom, since that was the surface where the print part touched the print bed. As well as some spots around the eyes and the holes for the eyes too. For safety, please get yourself a good fine dust mask, because you could breathe in the particles that you send off your prop. After sanding, I primed the mask so that the colors I used stick better on the PLA. For that, I used a plastics primer from Obi. I laid the mask flat on a piece of cardboard and sprayed the primer on evenly. You don't really have to paint the inside because, well, it won't be visible either way. If you don't have a spraying booth strong enough to suck in all the fumes as I do, please go outside to spray the mask, since the fumes released by the primer are toxic. After about 30 minutes, the primer should be dry. I then applied a layer of white paint from Wicked Colors using my airbrush. Again, if you don't have a spraying booth able to filter the fumes, you should at least get a respirator mask to protect your lungs. After the paint dried, it was time to get the mask to look old and dirty like in the game. I looked for a rough floor like concrete or anything like that and just rubbed the mask on the floor. For the most part, I did it in straight lines because of the in-game look of Frank and Julie. Since there's a white spot left in between the eyes, I used the backside of a screwdriver to do it by hand. Now you should have scratches in whatever color of filament you're using. That is the reason why you should use a darker filament, since you wouldn't get dark scratches with the white filament. I then made it look dirty using a technique called washing. For that, most cosplayers use oil paints, but I used a black email color by Revell, because those are the ones that worked for me so far. But please go ahead and do it with oil paints if you prefer those. The technique is the same, the oil paints are just more fluid and probably easier to work with. The goal is just to get some colors on the places where you want it to be dirty, and to then immediately wipe away the color using an old piece of clothing. Then you just repeat the same process until you think it is dirty enough. Then I just painted the eyes and the mouth according to the recesses, first using a smaller brush to get a feeling and then with the bigger brush for the finished lines. But of course I cannot paint perfect lines, so I repainted some parts with a smaller brush. After the paint dried, I started working on the blood. First off, the older and more dried out blood. For this I mixed some of the red colors by Revell with some white and black, till I got a pretty bright red which would look like the sun dried it out over time. To apply the color, I use a sponge and again an old cloth to wipe it away. The fresher blood on the left side and the eyes does have to look darker as, well, fresh blood would look like. Since, as seen in the trailer, the blood stains around the mouth are made by Frank using his arm to wipe across his face, I also did it using my fingers. Wearing a glove, I dunked them into the paint and started by doing the eyes. Just wiping down with one finger to then improve the lines with a small brush. To mix it up a bit, I also washed some of the places. After that, the last step is to get some blood sprays on the mask for some dynamic. For that, you can either use an old spray can or a sturdy brush. With the can, you need to make a more water-based and fluid color, like airbrush colors. For the brush, the color could be a little bit thicker. After getting some color on the brush, I just held it above the mask and pulled back the bristles, so by releasing, the colors spurred on the bra. I tried to spray it from the right bottom to the left top, since all Legion members hold their knives in the right hand. After I thought there is enough sprayed blood on there, I used a few different mixtures of colors and sprayed or brushed them on as well, to give it a more dynamic look.
Thanks so much for watching. Of course, all products that I used are linked in the description, as well as my email address for commissions.